this video, I have a quick physics lesson about the clarinet and an exercise that will help you to have more solid voicing and more comfortably do big leaps throughout all the registers of the clarinet. My name is Josh Gu, and I'm taking my years of experience learning, teaching, and performing, and sharing all of my best clarinet and music tips so you can get more out of your practice, and most importantly, have fun. You can learn more about all of my many resources at QuickStartClarinet.com, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit the bell to get notified when I post new videos. If you're like most clarinetists and find yourself struggling to do big leaps into the altissimo, or coming down from the altissimo to the clarion, or who knows if you have a crazy shallow to altissimo leap and some of those really crazy big intervals and they always feel really challenging, then hopefully this will help you, because I think the secret to it is not adjusting so much. I think it's kind of similar to the little bit of mental blocks and way we get in our own way when it comes to crossing the break, where we think, oh, crossing the break's really hard, we're changing register, so I gotta do something to make it happen. But if you're struggling with big leaps into the altissimo, you've probably already figured out how to cross the break, and that it's actually not that difficult. If you just keep the air support going and coordinate your fingers well, then it comes out no problem. And I think the same can be true for even shallow to altissimo leaps. And I have some science to back it up, and I'll also give you an exercise that you can work on to develop that easy transition across the biggest leaps of the instrument. So for the science and the physics of it, this was something that I discovered recently when I was doing some research for a sound quality workshop that I was putting together. I'll put a link in the description for quickstartclarinet.com/sound. You can still get the replay to that workshop. It was really awesome, super fun, really deep dive into sound quality. But what I learned doing research on that was how the physics of the instrument actually work. And what I learned was that the reed vibrating, resonating through the instrument makes the sound. And I absolutely already knew that, but there were some nuances to it that were new and different. The one that's very relevant to this exercise and this voicing thing is that the fact that the air resonates through the instrument, but also when you have the hole, the open hole where it's coming out of to create the note that you're playing, that changes the air pressure and it actually sends sort of vibrations back. So we have this standing wave of vibrations through the instrument, and it's not just vibrating down and out or through the body of the instrument and out. There's actually vibrations that come back up. And those vibrations coming back up affect the vibrations of the reed. I had an interesting experiment that demonstrated this that I did sort of unknowingly a few years ago. I was working with a composer friend, and she had this bowl, and another clarinetist she had worked with had realized that if you played like a B or an E and then stuck the bell of the clarinet into this bowl, all kinds of weird overtones would happen. And that's a demonstration of those standing waves, because when you're playing the E or B, the air is going all the way out the bell, and the bell is sending back the vibrations. But when we stuck the bell into this bowl, that changed the vibrations that were coming back, which changed the vibrations of the reed, and then had those higher registers and squeaks and upper partials coming out, which was really fascinating. So what that means for us as players is there's much less change that needs to happen in our voicing and in our oral cavity. We think when we're changing registers, the way we change registers is our input affects the reed, and our input absolutely does affect the reed. But actually the register changes, at least for the shallow, clarion, and lower altissimo, all can be controlled and affected by the fingerings and that standing wave resonating back up to the reed. So let me demonstrate this a little bit with the exercise. So what we're going to do is play a low A, and then add the register key to get up to E, and then take the first finger off to get to C sharp. And what that's doing is adding turbulence to the standing wave every time we open the register key or take our finger off. That added turbulence and disruption to the air is what causes the register to bounce up. But what we normally do is, yes, we know that we're doing the fingering to get to that note, but we also think that there's something here that we have to do, and we end up with something like this. And you can hear it came out pretty smoothly, but the low note was kind of wah, and then the clarion note got a little thinner, and then the altissimo note was really, really thin and kind of pushed out. And if we tried to do a leap from the shallow to the altissimo like that, it's really hard to get that to come out smoothly or sounding nicely. So the exercise that I want you to try is to disconnect and retrain your brain that there's no voicing things that we have to change to get through these partials. We can just let the fingers do it completely on their own. So we're going to play those 3 notes again, and the idea is to not change voicing at all, only move the fingers. I like to almost try to trick my brain where my brain doesn't know when my fingers are going to move so that the air and embouchure can be really steady. And of course the brain's going to know when your fingers are moving. But try to make it where your air and embouchure don't know when the fingers are moving. So that might sound something like this. And you can hear that high C sharp is kind of honking out a little bit. It's not a perfectly smooth transition, and that's okay for when you're starting on this exercise. It's more important to break your brain of the habit of trying to finesse those notes and instead keep just an honestly pure, steady voicing without changing anything. Then the next step, once you have it where you aren't changing anything, is to then find the best voicing to get those notes sounding good. And I think the way to do it is find the voicing for the altissimo note, in this case the C sharp, get that really dialed in, and then start down on the A and keep that as you go up. So you'll start by playing the altissimo note and get that sounding the way you want. Memorize what that voicing feels like, and then do the exercise from the A again with that voicing the entire time, not changing anything. And you can hear that that's now starting to sound like a nice smooth transition through the registers. And you can then do this exercise not just on the A, E, C sharp, but the other notes as well. And if you're unsure what those notes are for the right fingerings through the partials, start at the altissimo note and then go down from there. So the next altissimo note up from C sharp is D. So if we play D and then put the first finger on and also take the pinky key off, then we're at F. And then we take the register key off from there and we're at B flat. So that would be the next one. B flat, F, D. And then the next altissimo note is E flat or D sharp. Add the finger, take the pinky off. That's F sharp. Take off the register key, B natural. And you can work your way up through there. It works up until F. Kind of sort of works for F sharp actually, which is D, A, F sharp. Kind of sort of. As you get towards the higher end of the lower altissimo register, the fingerings aren't as in tune, so it gets a little wonky, but it works well up to F, which is C sharp, G sharp, F. So you can do that from C sharp up to F in the altissimo notes, and then their corresponding lower register notes. And again, as you're doing this exercise, just think steady, 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 embouchure, air support, voicing, so that you aren't changing anything. And next thing you know, once you get that exercise going well without changing anything, then you're building trust that it really is just the fingerings that are doing the work, and pretty soon you'll be able to do leaps from the shallow to the altissimo only by changing your fingerings and trusting that the resonance of the instrument is going to do whatever needs to happen to the reed to make those higher notes come out. I will say also, you might find that you're getting something like this as you do the A, E, C sharp, something like where the C sharp is coming out as an undertone when you're staying steady. That means that you're voicing too low on the A and too low on the E, and then the C sharp's not coming out. So do the sort of second phase of the exercise where you find the C sharp, dial in that voicing, and then keep it for the other notes. And you'll probably find also that the C sharp voicing and the voicing that makes the altissimo sound the best also makes the clarion note sound the best and the shallow note sound the best, because the shallow especially is not super sensitive to voicing. You can have lots of different voicings and it's going to sound fine. But once you find that best voicing, it'll sound better. And I think the best voicing is the one that makes the altissimo notes sound the best. So this was my sort of tips on voicing and some things to work on. I think the takeaways are to do that exercise and remember that stability of the air and embouchure and voicing support is the most important. The more you change those things when you're changing registers or changing dynamics or articulating, the more trouble you're going to run into with the consistency of sound quality and notes responding well. So find that good voicing, keep all of those components steady, and you'll find that you're able to get around to all of the notes with a better sound and with much more ease, which is a great win-win, I think. I also want to say, just real quick at the end here, that this is kind of a new idea that I'm exploring and experimenting with. So if you have anything more to add about the science behind this and how the physics of the clarinet work, if you happen to be a physicist or something like that, I'd be happy to hear that. If there's anything that I said that just actually isn't accurate or isn't true, please tell me. I'm always happy to hear more information, but based on my not scientist understanding of what I've read about the physics of the instrument and my intuitive feeling as a clarinetist, I think that I'm onto something here with finding that stability between all the registers. And I will add one last caveat too, that the upper altissimo, starting sometimes around some G fingerings, maybe even some F sharp fingerings, and definitely G sharp and higher, those ones are not purely just from the clarinet. That's where we have to do a little voicing action to get up to that highest partial, because it's really just squeaks at that point and we're trying to figure out how to squeak those notes out. But the lower altissimo, clarion, and shallow, I think absolutely steady, continuous support, energy into the reed, and everything's going to work out by just staying steady and not overcomplicating it. So I hope that this was helpful. Definitely let me know if you got some benefit from this and if that exercise is helpful for you. Thanks for watching this video, and I look forward to seeing you in another one. And last but not least, a huge heartfelt thank you to the Dennersons. This is like the QuickStart Clarinet family who supports the channel and helps to make everything that I do possible. If you would like to support the channel and get some awesome rewards in return where we can work one-on-one over video and you can have my full support moving forward on your clarinet journey, then go to quickstartclarinet.com/supporter.